My name is Hugo Bonjean. I am one of the co-owners of Spirit Hills, and I'm the beekeeper and wine alchemist.
My name is Ilse de Wit, and together with my husband Hugo, we own Spirit Hills Winery in Millerville, Alberta. We started the company about 6 years ago. It was actually December 22nd, 2012, right before Christmas.
When we moved here 21 years ago from Belgium, there was three things I did not like about Canada. I didn't like the bread, we didn't like the beer, and we thought wine was way too expensive. So we baked our own bread, we made our own beer, and we started making our own fruit wine. About 8 years ago, I got 2 beehives because I wanted to see if bringing pollinators to the property would increase the yield of the garden. And the garden yield went up with about 50%. But then I had all that honey. I had no idea a hive would produce that much honey. And I was just in the middle of making fruit wine, which is made with a lot of sugar. And so rather than using the sugar, I added the honey to it. And that's when the aha moment came. I met so many sustainable farmers in Canada and in the US, and organic farmers, that I wanted to join them. They were the nicest people I've ever met. There isn't much you can grow here, but you can set up a honey extraction facility, and your bees don't sit on your land. We have some sitting on our land, but they typically sit on other ranches and farmers' lands. And so it allowed us to set up a farming operation by really investing more in bees, getting the bees out on the ranch lands, and turning that honey into wine. We don't rely on buying packages of bees every year or on buying queens. So we breed our own queens, we breed our own hives. We haven't bought bees in years. The bees are extremely important, I think, for our ecosystem. It is actually the only creature on the planet that gives life when it creates its food. It's all wildflower honey. My bees harvest from every color of flower that you can see out there. It's not like they're sitting next to a canola field. They don't come in contact with canola. So we have pristine Rocky Mountain foothills honey. And then we turn all of that honey into wine. And so every bottle of wine has about 1/3, so about 30% honey in it.
My name's Bjorn Bonjean. I am the head winemaker here at Spirit Hills. We're classed as a cottage winery, so we have to produce 75% of what goes into our wine. So first we have to harvest our own honey. We add our berries and our herbal combination and things like that. And we let it ferment our fermentation is normally done within 4 to 5 weeks tops. And then after that, it's filtering and going through the bottling line.
Honey wine is quite a bit different from grape wine, right? Because there's no grapes in it, of course it's different. And we are also not trying to mimic grape wine either. This is a very unique product. So in a grape wine, it's the sugars in the grape juice that are fermented. Here it's the sugars in the honey that are fermented. And then we add all local ingredients. We don't make a straight honey wine. Traditionally, honey wines used to be quite sweet and almost a bit syrupy in the mouth. So these days, honey wines are quite different. These specifically are quite wine-like, so have all the good qualities of a good grape wine, let's say, but with a totally different flavor. And the flavor totally depends on what you put in it. So we use in our red wines, we use blackcurrants and saskatoons. We have 2 flower wines. That's one white dandelion wine and a rosé made with Alberta wild rose flowers. And that's really the beauty about making honey wine as well, because you can add all these different ingredients, so you can always make something very different.
Honey wine is It used to be the drink of kings and queens in the Middle Ages. It is the oldest fermented beverage in the world. And there is a reason why it was the drink of kings and queens. And during the Middle Ages, grape wine was actually for the common people.
We don't use grapes, so you don't have the very, like the chappy tannins that you get on the back of your teeth, like the dryness that you feel in your mouth, even though we have entirely dry wine, and one entirely dry wine.
We hear all too often, almost in every winery tour, there will be somebody who will be saying that this is the best wine they've ever had.
When I do my winery tours and people try the wine and they are blown away, and that just makes me happy.
We have lots of body, lots of aroma to it. There's lots of flavors. It's very different.
And it is extremely, it's healthy. Like we had our wines analyzed in a food lab in Edmonton as part of our export to Japan and to Europe. And our honey wines have on average more than 100 times more antioxidants than red grape wine does. And so as a result, once you open the bottle, that bottle does not oxidize in 2 or 3 days. That bottle will last for at least a month before it will start seeing any oxidation, because of all the antioxidants that of course fight off that oxidation. Bottles never last that long. Before Spirit Hills, I used to be an author. My last book, A People's Power, was about the family farm and how the family farm really is a critical building block for a sustainable economy.
We're still trying to make it with just the family, but we feel like in the future that's going to change. Like we won't be able to keep doing this just the 4 of us.
The best thing about our wine is that it's not a mass-produced, like it's not like your Naked Grape or your what other ones are, Apothic Red or whatever. Those are all just like, they're produced by the millions of liters, and it's not, most of it is actually made from must and not actually from grapes. So like, it's quality compared, or is quality over quantity.
But we are very proud of making a totally Alberta product. Buying locally is super important, and it's only going to be more and more important. So that is to me a very big reason. And then of course the flavor of these wines, they're fantastic. So they've all won awards. They're fantastic food pairing wines. So of course they're very good.
We really put a lot of time into making sure that our wine is the best quality that we can make it.
It's local. And as I mentioned, we are about sustainability and local living. Alberta has more than 300,000 beehives. We have the highest average production per beehive in the world. We produce 1% of all the export of honey in the world, and we produce 48% of Canada's honey. Our honey is renowned worldwide for its quality. It is a local product of our agricultural environment, and it is culturally embedded in our land.
Our wines are available in about 300 stores in Alberta and Saskatchewan. We have now started export to Japan, and our first shipment to Belgium went out a couple of weeks ago.
A lot of people think that they can taste wine properly if you just run it through your mouth, swish it around, and spit it out. I've come to learn that there's a lot of taste buds at the back of your tongue that you can't hit with just swishing it around. So you got to drink it.